Simmers would have to wait for another 6 months before they got their first expansion pack for The Sims 2. When The Sims 2 University was announced, it shocked gamers everywhere as they were completely caught off guard by a completely new concept. The Sims 2 University would expand expectations, horizons, and establish itself as a key pillar of content amongst other expansion packs. But The Sims 2 University also started a gameplay pilgrimage that many Simmers curse to this day, the long grind to graduation. For those of you just joining me, my name is Michael, and I want to welcome you to Sovereign Gaming and Life Sims, the YouTube channel where I build worlds, lots, and share my thoughts on video games in the life simulation gaming space. Like I did with my last tier review, I will be looking at the following criteria and scoring it out of 10 based on my opinion and playing experience. That criteria includes the video game's concept, its innovation, gameplay features, impact on the current franchise, and impact on future Sims franchises. Based on those scores, I'm going to throw each of these games and expansion packs on a tier list that I created at the end of the video, and today we are going to cover the Sims 2 University expansion pack. This is an expansion pack that some players liked and some players really hated, and today I'm going to dive in and explore why it is so polarizing, and we're starting with its concept. Without taking away from the innovation section of this review, I just want to say that the concept of taking your Sims to university was unheard of at this point. The university concept was something completely new, and I felt that EA absolutely intended this expansion pack to be the first for the Sims 2 franchise in order to show players that The Sims 2 aims to bring new experiences to the players. As a concept itself, I feel like The Sims 2 University was actually very bold in the vision it was painting itself out to be as an experience for the players. I think that it was really bold to introduce a completely new concept as the first expansion pack in the franchise, and The Sims 2 University's concept had to really become something that would excite players. In The Sims 2 University, it gave us a whole new life stage, being the young adult. It also gave us 3 new university sub-neighborhoods, new musics, objects, and like an academic university system to try to graduate from. Players weren't asking for university gameplay at the time when The Sims was released. They were busy asking for pets and seasons. However, when The Sims 2 University was announced, players everywhere at the time were curious and excited that the franchise was bringing something completely new to the table that felt robust and fully fleshed out. It wasn't The Sims 2 University's boldness that earns it a 10 out of 10 on its concept for me. It's the fact that university life was painted out to be a full and complete experience that changed how Simmers played. Now, let's have a little chat about the innovation behind the Sims 2 University expansion pack. When I mentioned that players either love or hate university, they typically love or hate university in all of its future franchise entries. I happen to be a player that actually loves university gameplay. However, I haven't played The Sims 4's university expansion pack as I really don't play that franchise, so I really can't speak on that one particularly, but I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. The reason why I wanted to mention the other franchises is that in The Sims 3 and Sims 4, there were some players that moaned a little about the expansion pack not being something else that they would like to see done or something else that they're interested in, which is fine because at that point, not every expansion pack was going to appeal to every player. However, what made The Sims 2's university concept different from the rest is that it delivered a really strong message to the player base in that the Sims 2 franchise will take its franchise to new places never seen before. And in the early 2000s leading up to University's release, I believe that more players were excited for a University expansion pack than they were for future franchises' University installments. In other words, that was a complicated way of saying players at that time were more excited for The Sims 2 University, and they would be less excited about future University expansion packs. I hope that made sense. I was kind of listening to myself there. Okay, so to me, This is a case where the boldness and novelty of an expansion pack works in the favor of earlier franchises, and in this case, I would argue that the novelty of The Sims 2's University, serving as a message to players to keep on their toes with their expectations, worked in EA's favor this time by driving more excitement and hype for the franchise. Because The Sims 2 University delivered on a new life stage, new player experiences for Simmers across all franchises, and helped to expand the imaginations of players everywhere, I'm giving The Sims 2 University a 10 out of 10 in the innovation category. Now I know what you're thinking, that this is going to be yet another perfect scoring game. Well, you'd be dead wrong at this point, because I want to talk about the gameplay next. When looking at the gameplay, I have to ask myself, does The Sims 2 University deliver on its promises? The short answer here is yes. Where The Sims 2 University gets its gameplay wrong is due to a lack of foresight, in my opinion. And what do I mean by that? Well, the minute you send your sim to university, your game is stuck in university. And this wouldn't be such a huge problem if The Sims 2 University didn't take so long. You see, in The Sims 2 University, you had to play through 4 quote-unquote years, being the freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior years before you graduated. Each semester lasted 3 days before you did a midterm and final exam. This led to 24 days of playthrough in order to get a sim to graduate from university. This is a lot of time to commit for players. Like I mentioned before, once you send a sim to university, your game just automatically loads up the university file, forcing the player to continue their university pilgrimage with their sims. Listen, playing 24 sim days in a row is a pretty hard commitment. I don't even consider myself someone that switches up households a lot, but I even know that playing 24 sim days straight in a single household for me, someone who does consider themselves somewhat committed to households, is a long time. And so, yeah, players got sick of this real quick, as simmers generally like to play several households at a time. And so this would make a 24 sim day pilgrimage for graduating a very hard commitment for players to make for just one sim that they wanted to graduate. And so what ended up happening, and I'll save parts of this discussion for the next section, is that players had to really think ahead and send several teens in the neighborhood to university at a time in order to make the time that they dedicated to university worth it. Had there been more foresight applied to university play, and what it meant for players to make that kind of a commitment, I think that EA would have done things differently. And to be fair, like, this commitment to university gameplay is a continued pain point in future iterations of the game, or of the expansion pack, I should say. On one hand, I feel like you can't avoid committing to an extent some time to spend in university gameplay, but on the other hand, 24 days was just too much for players. Another aspect of gameplay that I personally didn't vibe with was the new influence system. As you completed wishes and wants, your influence meter would build up, and you can get non-controlled sims to do things such as flirt or fight with another sim. However, this game mechanic never really worked for me, since it was always dependent on the relationship that another sim had, and it would be better if influencing another sim had a higher success rate attached to it. So that kind of gameplay mechanic never really worked for me, because it depended on a strange, uncontrolled sim having a relationship with another one, and whether or not the influence action would even land. Plus, like, usually the pathfinding of the sims would clash, and I would end up just spending influence points for nothing when it came to that. So yeah, when it comes down to it, I'm going to give The Sims 2 University a 6 out of 10 on the gameplay, since I feel like the length of University was grossly underestimated, and that the team had the resources to change the game so that University was shorter. I feel like they overcommitted to the concept, perhaps even feeling pressured to deliver all 4 years, when in actuality, there was just a better way to do it. I think that The Sims 2 University delivers on gameplay that is functional, but is it enjoyable? I'm not sure that I think it was enjoyable for players. However, I will be giving it credit in that it delivers on gameplay that makes it one of the better interpretations of University in all of the franchises, which is why I'm comfortable with giving it a 6 out of 10. Now let's talk about how it influences the current Sims 2 franchise. With University gameplay lasting so long, this actually had a tremendous impact on the psyche of Sims players everywhere, whether they want to admit to it or not. Like I keep saying, 24 Sims days is a long commitment in this game. And instead of focusing on one household and perhaps sending a single Sim to university, Simmers were suddenly prompted to question who else needed to go to university in their world. This changed the way that Simmers played their games because now players had to really take into account or really take into consideration multi-household storytelling. And the fact that you only had one chance to go to university, which is with any teen and sending them off, it really meant that you had to step back and look at your entire neighborhood. This was gameplay I was fine with personally, but I know that it wasn't everybody's cup of tea. So that's why it's coming across as more of a criticism here, is because I don't think it's fair to force your players' hands like that. And you'd be shit out of luck as well, like if you had a collection of teens that you wanted to have different experiences playing through their university experience, such as like sending one of them to live in a Greek house, for example. And so this dilemma impacted a player's experience at every point in the franchise because you only had one chance to send your Sims to university, and if you missed it, you could never do it again. I think that players felt like their hands were very forced when playing a doctor sim or a sim working a career that would require a degree in real life. It impacted the storytelling of their Sims by suggesting that they aren't playing realistically. And forget about sending Mortimer or Cassandra to university because they were already past the teen life stage, if I remember correctly about Cassandra. I think Cassandra would have went to university, don't you? I think that The Sims 2 University had an incredible impact on the Sims 2 franchise, but not in a good way. For that, I will give The Sims 2 University a 2 out of 10, since I feel that its inflexibility and sense of urgency for teen Sims forced the player's hand and changed their playstyle when an expansion pack shouldn't feel like a forced pilgrimage thrust upon the players. Now let's talk about The Sims 2 University's influence on future franchises. When it comes to analyzing an expansion pack's impact on future franchises, I typically have to compare it to how it gets reinterpreted for future franchises. So for example, I would look at how Fane gameplay would get reinterpreted in future expansion packs and how this expansion pack would shape those reinterpretations. I hope that makes some sense there. With that said, it is very unfortunate that the one thing that would make the university experience different in future interpretations of the concept would be introducing some sort of an online option. Even if that option would be to grant a lesser post-secondary degree of some sort, I'm sort of surprised that The Sims 3 or The Sims 4 never really explored online post-secondary learning. But I'm not faulting The Sims 2 University for that. I did want to point out that the University expansion packs throughout future franchises didn't change a whole lot in their interpretations of University. Rather, they merely allowed adults in older life stages to attend University, and they just really adjusted how long University would last. The time frame to graduate is indeed the biggest aspect of University that needed addressing in future franchises, as it was the biggest problem space experienced in The Sims 2's University. When looking at future franchises, I can tell that EA chose to learn this lesson with The Sims 3 and not The Sims 4, since the quickest you can play through The Sims 4's University gameplay, according to my research, is 21 sim days, if I researched that correctly. Whereas in The Sims 3's University expansion pack, you only needed to spend 14 days if you took a full course load and had some scholarships, like you could graduate within 2 weeks there, roughly, which is much better. Even 21 sim days is quite a significant time commitment, never mind 24, which is what we have with The Sims 2 University. Now, don't get me wrong, I won't penalize The Sims 2's University for future franchise shortcomings, but it did make it apparent to EA that University gameplay was just too long, with 24 sim days being required to play through before you graduated. In that angle, I think that it helped to influence future iterations of University gameplay by making that problem space a key focus that was not considered when they were developing it for The Sims 2. As for the concepts of future iterations, there were some pivots here and there to take on different angles of playing a university experience within The Sims. These pivots were small, in my opinion, and likely made just to keep future interpretations of university gameplay fresh and new, or at least appearing like it did. Where The Sims 2 University shines on its influence for future franchises lies in the fact that it did create a new pillar of franchise gameplay that every succeeding Sims franchise has had to reinterpret. A pillar that players weren't asking for, but were pleasantly surprised, I think. And whether or not EA executes on this pillar of gameplay well doesn't overshadow that the concept of offering Sims an opportunity to pursue higher education is something that is ultimately desired by the Sims player fanbase. For that reason, I'll give The Sims 2 University a 6 out of 10 in its impact on future franchises, since the execution on The Sims 2 University only served to offer gameplay when it came to pursuing a higher education as a franchise pillar, but it didn't do it in a way that ever got Sims players wanting to abandon the rest of their households just to focus on graduating Sims by playing them for 24 straight days. As the first expansion pack being reviewed of the Sims 2 franchise, it makes the final score from all categories a 34 out of 50, putting it in the mediocre category. Personally, I loved university gameplay, and I loved playing my game as a neighborhood as opposed to just focusing on one household. In fact, it was when I played The Sims 2 University at a friend's place that convinced me to start my journey with the Sims 2 franchise, since I loved the university gameplay. But that doesn't deny that The Sims 2 University had problems, especially with its gameplay and negative impact on the rest of the Sims 2 franchise. Furthermore, I felt that The Sims 2 University forced players' hands in having to commit to a lengthy university playthrough in order to educate their Sims, and if they missed the opportunity to send them to university, then they could never have their Sim pursuing education beyond high school, and I don't think that was everyone's cup of tea. And I feel the same when it comes to managing multiple households as well, that it also wasn't everyone's cup of tea. I mean, if you played with aging on and such, and you had a Sim or a teen Sim that was about to age into an adult, again, your hand was forced in taking into consideration whether you wanted to send them to university or not. And then you go looking around the neighborhood for other teens that might want to go to university, and suddenly you have to play another household. Again, that wasn't everybody's cup of tea, which is why forcing the player's hand in that kind of a way wasn't something that I agreed with, and that's why I penalized the way that I did. If you enjoyed this review and my thoughts on The Sims 2 University, then feel free to like and consider subscribing. Furthermore, I just want to take a moment to say thank you for watching, and that you are more than welcome to share your thoughts on The Sims 2 University in the comments section below. Up next, I will be reviewing the next expansion pack in the Sims 2 franchise, and that is The Sims 2 Nightlife. This expansion pack was a personal favorite of mine, and I can't wait to pick up the vibes reviewing that one. But will I be giving it a perfect score? Well, you'll just have to watch that next review to find out. Anyways, I just want to say thank you again for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.